What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time for y'all that was sent in by a subscriber that might be up there as one of the stupidest / weirdest things I've ever seen. You would think something with a title like Street Milk would be very obviously not a good idea to consume, but for some reason we got a story time for today about a guy who managed to make a business out of selling some street milk. Regardless, it's a story of betrayal, sadness, and a little bit of money making, so I figured y'all would enjoy it. It's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. You will be visited tonight by an angry ghost who will force feed you street milk. Trust me, you don't want that, so press the like button. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Get quiet now, lay low when you reach zone, wiping down, make it out, stack the bread, cause
Alright guys, so growing up, if you were ever a kid who had to ride the bus to school, you know that bus stops are a weird little micro world of their own. They've kind of got their own little economy going on, their own little social hierarchy. It's basically what would happen if Lord of the Flies was allowed on like a really small scale. It's just kids being weird, there's not much supervision, kids trying to act like adults, just doing cringy weird things. And at this kid's particular bus stop, there was a kid who wanted everyone to call him Mr. Monopoly. No joke, his name was Trevor, but for some reason he was incredibly insistent that everyone at the bus stop, all of his teachers, anyone that interact with him, call him exclusively Mr. Monopoly. And to match this like Mr. Monopoly aesthetic, he always wore suits to school. But it wasn't like suits that fit him in any way, shape, or form. It was always like he raided his grandpa's closet and just took some suits. They were all like 1920s style, but also way too big for him, like 3 sizes too big, where he's basically swimming in this suit coat and talking about how he wants to call everyone to call him Mr. Monopoly. And for whatever reason, he was like always talking about business and all the money he makes, and obviously the kids like weren't the oldest. So he had a fake cell phone that like was deactivated, and he would have fake business calls on the bus all day where he would answer the phone, air quotes, but there would be no one on the other end and they could tell. And he would just start talking about mergers and acquisitions and the stock purchases and splitting the company and all this stuff. He was just trying to convince everybody that he was this businessman. Why this kid at the bus stop decided to tell everyone to call him Mr. Monopoly, wore suits too big, and had fake phone calls, I couldn't tell ya. You just gotta know that that was the guy that existed at the bus stop. And next to this bus stop was one of those like big power boxes. You know how you guys would go sit at the end of the curb when you were like playing when you were a little kid at one of those power boxes? At least I did. I don't know if that's relatable to anyone else. Well, this was like a bigger version of one of those, to the point where it was probably 3 or 4 of them wide and 2 tall. And it was tucked into this little like cutaway of the wall section where behind this power box was a little private hangout. And when you went behind it, you know, you couldn't really see what was going on down there. So the older kids turned it into a little bit of a hangout. Whenever somebody had a gross dare or something, they would go behind the power box and do it because you couldn't really see it from the bus. And regardless, it was just kind of known that like anything going on back there probably wasn't the best thing to get yourself involved in. Well, one morning, Mr. Monopoly is behind this power like box thing where no one can see him doing his thing. And he keeps telling everybody that tries to go back there to go away. They need to get out of there. He's busy right now. He's doing something. He's getting ready to launch a new product. He's going to have this new business soon, and he just needs time to set it up. He's telling everybody that whatever he's got going on behind this power box is incredible. It's going to revolutionize the world, but it's not going to be ready till after school. That's all he can say. And like I said, he's being crazy secretive. Someone tries to sneak back there and get a look, he chases them away. He's always like, no, you guys can't see what's going on in here. He's being super defensive. All that they know is that when Mr. Monopoly first got to the bus stop, he had 2 gallons of milk in his backpack, and when he got on the bus after coming out from behind the power box, he no longer had milk. So whatever he was setting up to make money and let them try after school had to do with milk and sitting behind a power box all day. Anyways, on the bus ride in that day of school, dude, Mr. Monopoly is going around telling everybody he's gonna be a new millionaire. He invented this new product. He had been doing a bunch of research on the History Channel, and he knew that this was his big break. And he's literally telling everyone that will listen that he's got this new business venture coming up and they can invest in it now and all this stuff. Not just kids, he's telling teachers, he's telling the principal. Anyone with ears is aware of the fact that Mr. Monopoly has a new business. So whatever, kids kind of start being excited a little bit. Obviously, it's not every day that a kid says that they've got a new product in a business and blah, 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 blah. So some kids start buying into the hype. The subscriber that sent this into me was kind of aware of the fact that, Mr. Monopoly wasn't actually a businessman, so whatever product it was wasn't going to be that great. But there were a lot of kids in the school that were buying into the hype, thinking that this guy had the next big thing. Anyways, on the way home from school after that day, everyone's on the bus and everyone's kind of gathered around Mr. Monopoly trying to ask him to tell him what it is, can they give him any tips, can they give him anything? And finally, he starts to relent and he starts to tell people like what his product is. Except he's like super dramatic about it. He tells everyone to gather around so they can hear the story of how he came up with this brilliant idea that was going to make him millions. And so everybody kind of gathers around him in the back of the bus and he starts to tell this story. Alright guys, I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. Yes, I know it's at the worst time, but if you take a look at your screen, you'll see a gift card code. For those of you that don't know, I give one of these away every single day here on this channel as a way to say thank you to y'all for being subscribed with notifications on. So, if you haven't already, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you already got them on, well then thank you, you're an absolute G. And on that note, I'll shut up and get back to the story. Thanks. He's being really dramatic, but he starts to tell this story where he's like, alright, last night, I'm watching History Channel. They start to talk about some of the oldest businesses that have made people billions. And ladies and gentlemen, did you know that one of the oldest businesses on the planet is making alcohol? And obviously the subscriber is like, yeah, I did know that, and he starts to explain that they make wine by taking grapes, making it into juice, and then letting it ferment. And he explains the process for beer, which involves letting it ferment. And he keeps hitting all of these things where he's like, you put this liquid here and you let it sit and it ferments. And he just keeps kind of like going on that. And he finally starts talking about how he decided to do that with milk because there's not a lot of things that have been made with milk before. Only certain countries have it. So he's going to be the first American to make a fermented milk drink. And he had left those 2 gallons of milk in this little contraption he made behind the power box in the it was like near the end of the year, so it's like a summer day, hot summer day, to sit and stew and ferment for a while so that way he could launch street milk today. And everyone was going to be allowed to try it for $5 a glass. And a lot of the kids are like, oh my God, that's so smart, dude. You're a genius. This is going to make you so much money. But the subscriber is kind of like, I don't know about that. I think that's going to be kind of gross because he's aware of the fact that milk goes bad. Right? Like, it doesn't matter if you think this kid is a genius for watching History Channel and figuring out that they ferment wine. We've known that. Milk doesn't do that though, bro. If you just leave milk out in the sun all day to sit there, it just goes bad. You don't get like a buzz off drinking it. It doesn't taste good. You're just drinking rotten milk at that point, right? So whatever, the subscriber's like, I'm personally not going to have any, but a bunch of kids are down. So they get off the bus and a bunch of kids go behind this power box. They're taking their $5 bills out and Mr. Monopoly is there in his suit taking $5 from each person. And he gets maybe 10 kids that want to try it, that are brave enough to try it. Everyone else is just kind of standing there to watch and see what happens. And of course, he starts pouring out the glasses and the milk that's supposed to come out as like a smooth white liquid comes out as this just chunky, like gross looking thing. And a few kids mention the smell and that it looks gross. And Mr. Monopoly's got an explanation for that. Obviously, just the smartest kid to ever exist in the history of the planet. He tells him, no, that's part of the fermentation process. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit stronger now, but that means that it works. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It just means the milk's gone rotten, but the kids believe it. And sure enough, these kids just drink this milk, and almost instantly, one of them starts puking it back up. But the other ones manage to hold it down for a little bit. They drink all of it. It's disgusting, but, they think it's this fermented milk drink. And within probably 10 minutes, everybody kind of starts walking home in the same direction. The kids that drank the street milk start dropping like flies and vomiting everywhere. Obviously, if you drink spoiled milk, that's what's going to happen to you. So they're all puking, and Mr. Monopoly sees this, that it's only the kids that drank the street milk. So he just starts running home as fast as possible. He's not sticking around to find out what happens if he's responsible for getting everyone sick. He's just trying to get out of there, bro. He made his $50 off the street milk. He's gone. So he dips, and all this school, or all the other kids are just watching these kids puke, right? It gets so bad that they have to go get their parents. The parents come out, ask the kids what happened. Sure enough, the kids explain that they drank street milk, yada, yada, yada. When they explain it, it becomes obvious to the parents that their kids just drank spoiled milk. And so they take the kids home and start treating them. Well, one of the parents, I guess, had kind of had enough of the situation. So she decides that she's going to call the school and report what happened. So now the school is aware that Mr. Monopoly is sitting behind the bus stop making fermented milk to give to the kids. You know, just an absolute crappy situation. So the next day at school, he gets called down to the office. They use his real name. They don't call him Mr. Monopoly. Who would have thought the principal would not be down for that? But they call him in there and they ask him about it. He doesn't deny it, you know, they investigate. Street Milk Kid ends up getting suspended for 3 days for like trying to sell stuff on school grounds or during school time, something like that. It wasn't on school grounds, but like the bus stop, you know what I'm saying. And on top of that, they ended up banning him from the bus so that way he didn't have the ability to like, you know, convince kids to buy street milk anymore. And it wasn't a situation where they were necessarily proud of his business either, because selling rotten milk just is not a good business idea. So he got banned from the bus, suspended for a couple days, and his parents had to drive him to school. And what's really interesting is after that, the Mr. Monopoly stick kind of faded. He still would wear like nice clothes, but the suits dropped. He started letting people call him by his normal name. It was almost as if accidentally poisoning half your school bus with rotten milk made him realize that entrepreneurship might not be the path for him. You know, some people are made to be businessmen. If you think street milk's a good business idea, you're probably just not one of them. But yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. I figured this was a funny one. It's just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I'm going to throw this out there. Don't drink spoiled milk. There you go. There's some life advice, moral of the story for y'all. If you enjoyed, though, you can do me a big favor. Pressing the like button, commenting down below, both help the video do way better. And if you're new, you might as well subscribe and turn on those notifications because I post every day. Other than that, if you enjoyed the intro song, a link to it can be found in the description down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast. And coming pretty soon, the 29th of this month, you're going to be able to get Halloween merch from that link down below. Last but certainly not least, use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout for a discount. Helps you out, helps me out. Literally everyone is a winner. But yeah, on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.